Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth we must all face at some point in our lives. Betrayal is inevitable. Not everyone who smiles with you, walks with you, or celebrates your victories is genuinely for you. Sometimes the people closest to you, the ones you trust the most, will be the ones who wound you in the quiet shadows of secrecy. They will undermine you when no one is looking, whisper words to discredit you, and plot schemes to hinder your purpose. But today I'm here to remind you of one powerful truth. What is done in secret will not remain hidden forever. There is a principle woven into the very fabric of life. God is a revealer of secrets. He is not blind to what happens in the hidden places. He sees every act, hears every word, and knows every intention of the heart. When you are hurt, when you are wronged, when you are betrayed, you don't have to fight every battle or prove your case to everyone. You don't need to expose the wrongdoer, because God will do it for you. And he will do it in a way that leaves no question about his justice. Think about the stories we know, the ones that have shaped our faith and given us hope. Look at Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery, betrayed him in secret, and assumed his dreams were over. They thought they had buried his purpose and silenced his destiny. But they underestimated the God who watches over his own. The betrayal Joseph experienced in private led to his public elevation. When famine struck and his brothers came seeking help, they didn't find the broken boy they sold. They found the prime minister of Egypt. The very ones who tried to destroy him were forced to bow before him. Joseph didn't need to expose them. God did it in his time and in his way. When you are hurt, when people plot against you, the natural instinct is to defend yourself. You want to confront them, to let everyone know the truth, to vindicate your name. But let me tell you something. God is your defender. He fights battles in ways you could never imagine. If you try to expose people in your own strength, you might miss the opportunity for God to reveal his power through your situation. The same God who vindicated Joseph is the same God who watches over you. Consider David. King Saul in secret sought to destroy him. Out of jealousy, Saul pursued David, trying to kill him. Yet David, though he had opportunities to retaliate, chose not to touch Saul. Why? Because David understood something profound. Vengeance belongs to the Lord. David knew that if he stayed faithful, if he trusted God, he would handle the situation. And indeed, God did. David went from hiding in caves to sitting on the throne while Saul's schemes crumbled. The man who tried to harm him in secret was publicly removed from power. God's justice prevailed. Now, let me speak to you directly. Some of you here today have been deeply hurt. You've been betrayed by people you loved, people you trusted. Perhaps it was a friend, a colleague, or even a family member. You've cried in the dark. You've carried the weight of their actions silently because you didn't want to create conflict, or you didn't know how to respond. And maybe, just maybe, you've been asking, God, do you see what they've done? Do you see how they've hurt me? Let me assure you today, he sees. Not one tear you've cried has gone unnoticed. Not one injustice against you has been overlooked. The God who sees in secret will reward you openly. But here's the key. While you wait for God to act, guard your heart. Do not allow bitterness to take root. Do not let anger consume you. Forgiveness is not for them, it's for you. When you forgive, you release yourself from the prison of their betrayal. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're excusing what they did. It means you're trusting God to handle it. And here's another truth. Your response to betrayal is part of the test. Every elevation requires preparation. Joseph's journey to the palace went through the pit and the prison. David's anointing as king came with years of running and hiding. What you're going through right now may be painful, but it's not without purpose. God is shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for something greater. And when the time is right, He will lift you up in front of those who tried to bring you down. The scriptures tell us that what is hidden will be brought to light, and what is whispered in secret will be shouted from the rooftops. This is not just a warning to those who do wrong, it's a promise to those who are wronged. God's justice is not limited by time. It may not happen when you want it to, but it will happen. So what do you do while you wait? You keep your focus on God. You keep doing what is right. You keep walking in integrity. Remember, the battle is not yours. It is the Lord's. Your job is not to expose them. Your job is to trust Him. The more they plot, the more they lie, the more they try to hurt you in secret, the more God will elevate you in public. And when He does, it will be undeniable that His hand is upon your life. Think of Jesus Himself. He was betrayed by one of His own disciples. Judas plotted in secret, sold Him for 30 pieces of silver, and thought he could derail the mission of the Messiah. But what Judas did not realize was that his betrayal was part of God's greater plan. The very act intended to harm Jesus became the doorway to humanity's salvation. The cross, meant for shame and destruction, became the greatest symbol of victory and redemption. What was done in secret was turned into the ultimate public triumph. I want to leave you with this. Trust the process. Trust that God sees and knows all. Trust that He is working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. The hurt, the betrayal, the pain, none of it is wasted. God will use it all for His glory and your good. And when He vindicates you, it will be undeniable. Those who try to harm you in secret will have no choice but to witness the blessing of God on your life. So walk in faith, walk in forgiveness, and walk in the confidence that the God who sees in secret will reward you openly. Life is a journey filled with people who either walk beside us or stand against us. Some will celebrate your victories openly, but others will hurt you in secret, plotting against you in the shadows. They may smile in your face while their hearts harbor deceit. They believe their actions are hidden, but let me assure you, nothing is hidden from the eyes of the Almighty. The truth is this: betrayal often comes quietly. It sneaks in through those you least expect. Those you trusted, those you believed were for you. Their words may cut deep, their actions may wound you, and their schemes may cause you to stumble. But here's what I want you to remember. Your pain is not in vain, and your tears have not gone unnoticed, and your life has not been confounded. God is a God of justice. He sees what you cannot see and hears what you cannot hear. While they scheme in secret, He prepares a public table for you in the presence of your enemies. The very ones who thought they could destroy you without consequence will witness the hand of God lifting you higher than they ever imagined. You see, exposure is not about revenge. It's about revealing truth. When God exposes, it's not to embarrass or humiliate, but to bring clarity, vindication, and alignment with His will. The battles you face in secret are shaping your character. They are refining you, molding you, and preparing you for a platform far greater than you can imagine. Do not waste energy trying to fight them on your own. Don't lower yourself to their level by engaging in retaliation or gossip. Instead, step back, remain faithful, and trust the process. God says, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay." He has a plan far greater than yours, and His timing is perfect. Remember this: the higher God takes you, the stronger the winds of opposition may blow. But the strength of those winds only reveals the power of your foundation. Let your foundation be rooted in truth, integrity, and faith. When you stand firm, no secret weapon formed against you will prosper. So to anyone here today who feels hurt, betrayed, or attacked in secret, lift your head. God is your defender, and his justice is sure. They may have hurt you behind closed doors, but God will bless you openly. Their actions may have sought to destroy you, but God's plan will promote you. Hold on to your faith. Trust the one who holds all things together. And when the time comes, not only will he expose the truth, but he will elevate you to a place where your scars become testimonies and your trials become triumphs. Walk boldly, knowing that God sees, God knows, and God will make it right. Friends, let me tell you something. The exposure of those who hurt you in secret is not just for your sake. It is for the sake of others as well. When God uncovers the truth, he is not only vindicating you, but also sending a message to everyone watching. He's showing that he is a God of righteousness, that he will not allow the plans of the wicked to prevail, and that his children are never forsaken. I read several times that Adam Meeson, man, we should understand this. The exposure may not happen on your timeline. You might wonder why it's taking so long or why it feels like they're getting away with it. But let me remind you, delay is not denial. God's timing is deliberate, because he works in ways that accomplish multiple purposes at once. While you wait, he's preparing you. While you wait, he's perfecting you. What's important is that you keep your heart clean. Don't let bitterness take root. Don't let anger consume you. Don't let their darkness pull you out of the light. You are called to a higher standard, even when they plot against you, even when they lie on you, even when they smile in your face but stab you in the back. Keep walking in integrity, keep loving, keep trusting God, because when the exposure happens, your hands must be clean so that your testimony remains pure. Let me give you a picture of what God does in these situations. Imagine a seed planted deep in the soil. For a time, it seems hidden. No one can see what's happening beneath the surface. But eventually, as the sun shines and the rain falls, that seed bursts forth from the ground, revealing the growth that has been taking place all along. In the same way, God has been nurturing you, strengthening you, and preparing you in the unseen places. And when it's time, he will bring you forth as pure gold for all to see. And let me say this. When God blesses you openly, give him the glory. Don't use your platform to prove a point to your enemies. Don't waste time trying to justify yourself or parade your success as a means of revenge. Instead, let your success be a reflection of God's goodness. Let your life testify to his faithfulness. Let your blessings point others to him. In closing, I urge you to trust in the justice of God. Hold on to this truth. The Lord is your defender. He is your shield, your strong tower, and your refuge. When people try to hurt you in secret, know that God will handle it. And when he exposes them publicly, it will be undeniable that his hand was upon you all along. So stand firm, keep your heart right, and stay in alignment with his will. What was meant to harm you will only propel you into purpose. What they thought would break you will build you. And the God who watches over you will ensure that no weapon formed against you will ever prosper. Walk in victory, my friends. Your story is not over. God is still writing, and the best is yet to come. Now, my friends, let me remind you that when God moves on your behalf, it is never a small thing. He doesn't just vindicate you. He does it in a way that leaves no doubt about who is in control. When God reveals the truth, it's not subtle. It's undeniable, unmistakable, and unforgettable. Think of the stories we see in Scripture. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, and later imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. For years, it seemed like the people who heard him had won. But when God's time came, he lifted Joseph out of obscurity and placed him in a position of authority second only to Pharaoh. The very brothers who heard him in secret had to bow before him in public. Joseph didn't seek revenge. Instead, he forgave them and recognized that God had used even their betrayal for good. The same God who worked for Joseph is working for you. He sees the betrayal, the lies, the schemes. He knows the pain you've endured. But he also knows how to turn that pain into purpose. He knows how to take what was meant for evil and use it to elevate you, bless you, and impact the lives of others. Let me encourage you, as you wait for God to move, don't let the actions of others distract you from your assignment. The enemy's goal is not just to hurt you, but to derail you. If he can get you so focused on the betrayal that you lose sight of your purpose, then he's won. But don't give him that power. Keep your eyes on God. Stay faithful in what he's called you to do, and trust that in his time, he will handle everything else. Here's the beauty of God's justice. It doesn't just bring clarity, it brings healing. When God exposes the truth, he also restores what was broken. He heals the wounds caused by betrayal. He mends the relationships that were damaged. And he gives you a peace that surpasses all understanding. You don't have to carry the weight of what they did to you. You don't have to fight to prove your innocence or to expose their wrongdoing. That's not your job, it's God's. And when you let him take care of it, he does it in a way that leaves no scars, only testimonies. Let me leave you with this final thought. The exposure of those who hurt you is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter. It's the chapter where God shows the world what he's been doing in your life behind the scenes. It's the chapter where your pain turns into power, your trials into triumphs, and your wounds. So my friends, walk in confidence. Lift your head high. Trust in the God who sees all, knows all, and will make all things right in his perfect time. They may have hurt you in secret, but God will bless you in public. They may have tried to break you, but God is building you into something unshakable. Stand firm in your faith and watch as God turns your story into a testimony that brings glory to his name. The hardest thing to endure is betrayal by someone close to you. The sting of being wronged by those you trusted, those you confided in, and those you believed will stand by your side is a pain that words cannot fully capture. But there's something powerful that happens when you endure such moments. These moments, though painful, are not wasted. They are seasons of preparation, pruning, and positioning. You see, when people hurt you in secret, they think they are moving unseen, but nothing escapes the eyes of God. He is omnipresent. He is in every room, every conversation, and every moment. He sees what is done in darkness and hears what is whispered in secret. There is no scheme too clever, no lie too well hidden, and no betrayal too discreet for him to uncover in due time. The thing about exposure is that it is never random or without purpose. When God allows the truth to be revealed, it's because he's setting something in motion. Exposure isn't about revenge or retaliation. It's about alignment. It's about placing people, situations, and circumstances in their proper place. Sometimes people need to be removed from your life because their presence hinders the assignment God has for you. Other times, their actions need to come to light so that those who've been deceived can finally see the truth. But here's where it gets hard. It's not your job to force the exposure. It's not your job to uncover the truth. It's not your job to defend yourself against every accusation or attack. That's God's role. He is your defender. He is your advocate. And when he moves, his justice is far more thorough than anything you could accomplish on your own. The key in these moments is to remain faithful. Stay focused on what God has called you to do. Don't allow the hurt to distract you from your purpose. Don't let the bitterness take root in your heart. And don't waste time trying to figure out how or when the exposure will happen. That's not for you to know. Your role is to trust him, to keep walking, and to keep doing what he's placed in your hands. What you must understand is that even the betrayal has a purpose. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's unfair. But God is so sovereign, so powerful, that he can take even the worst things done to you and use them for your good. What they meant to destroy you will be the very thing that propels you. What they thought would silence you will become the foundation of your greatest testimony. Think of it like this. Every betrayal, every wound, every attack is like a stepping stone. Each one takes you higher. Each one builds your endurance. Each one strengthens your faith. Without those moments, you wouldn't be prepared for where God is taking you. The platforms he's preparing for you, the opportunities he's opening for you, and the influence he's giving you all require a level of strength and character that is forged in the fire of adversity. And here's the beautiful thing. When the exposure happens, it's not just about showing the world what they did. It's about showing the world what God has done. It's about revealing his faithfulness in your life. It's about demonstrating how he can take someone who was broken, betrayed, and hurt and raise them up as a testimony of his power and grace. The people who hurt you in secret don't realize they're playing into God's plan. They think they're working against you, but in reality, they're setting the stage for God to showcase his glory. Their actions, as harmful as they seem, are like puzzle pieces that God is fitting into the bigger picture of your life. They don't have the final say. God does. What's important during this process is your response. How you handle the betrayal matters. Will you choose to stay bitter, or will you choose to stay better? Will you choose to retaliate, or will you choose to rest in God's justice? Will you let their actions define you, or will you let God's promises sustain you? You don't have to fight for yourself. You don't have to prove anything. Let God handle it. Let him take care of the people and situations that are against you. When he does, it will be undeniable. No one will question who was behind your vindication, because his hand will be so evident. And when the exposure happens, don't gloat. Don't celebrate their downfall. Don't use the moment to say, I told you so. Instead, let it be a reminder of God's faithfulness. Let it be a moment where you thank him for being your defender, for keeping you through the pain, and for bringing you to a place. It's tempting to want immediate justice, to want the truth revealed now, to want the tables turned quickly. But God's timing is perfect. He knows when and how to bring everything to light. He knows when to remove the people who are hindering you. He knows when to open the doors that have been shut. And when he does, it will be far better than anything you could have orchestrated yourself. In the meantime, focus on your growth. Focus on your character. Let the betrayal refine you, not define you. Use the pain as an opportunity to draw closer to God, to deepen your faith, and to strengthen your resolve. Don't let what they did to you stop you from becoming who God has called you to be. And always remember this. God is a God of justice. He is a God who sees. He is a God who defends his children. They may have heard you in secret, but God will vindicate you in public. They may have thought they won, but God always has the final word. Stay faithful, stay patient, and stay in his will. Trust that his plan is greater than your pain, and that his timing is perfect. Keep moving forward, and watch as he turns what was meant for harm into something beautiful and purposeful. And so, my friends, the message is clear. No matter what they have done to you in secret, no matter how deep the voice of dreams are very, very dark, they cannot scale you. The face of dreams, no matter what they have done to you in secret, no matter how deep the voice of dreams are very, very dark, they cannot scale your voice of dreams by directing your life in a certain direction. Their attempts to tear you down will only serve to build you up. For our God takes what was meant for evil and turns it for good. But as you wait for God to move, keep your heart anchored in Him. Don't allow bitterness, anger, or vengeance to cloud your spirit. Forgive those who have wronged you, not because they deserve it, but because forgiveness sets you free. Pray for those who hurt you, not because it's easy, but because it keeps your heart aligned with God's will. And above all, trust that His justice will prevail. When the time comes, God will lift you up before the very people who doubted, betrayed, or hurt you, not to glorify you, but to glorify Himself through you. Let your testimony be one of grace, of love, and of unwavering faith in the face of adversity. And remember, Jesus Himself walked this path. He was betrayed by one of His closest companions, denied by those who claimed to love Him, and crucified by the very people He came to save. Yet in the midst of it all, He remained faithful. He endured the pain, knowing that His suffering would lead to redemption and victory, not just for Himself, but for the entire world. So take heart. If Jesus, the Son of God, endured betrayal and rose in glory, then you too will rise. His resurrection is proof that no pain, no betrayal, no secret scheme can keep you down when God is on your side. Keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith. Stand firm in His promises, walk in His love, and trust in His justice. They may hurt you in secret, but God will bless you, defend you, and elevate you publicly for His glory. Your story isn't over, and with God, the best is yet to come. Amen.